That's mine, sir.
Is Anna Marie coming back?
She's out.
Oh, she's out. Okay. If we could all stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilmember Brandt, could you lead us in prayer, please?
May we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today and the blessings of this day. And as we move out of the season of Thanksgiving, and we thank you for the bounty that you give us, we now move into the time of year when we thank you for the gift of Christ, that he could give us everlasting life. We ask that you guide us, give us the wisdom to make the decisions for this city. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Ms. Lewis, could I get a roll call, please?
Green.
Here.
Paprick.
Here.
Gibson.
Here.
Fox.
Here.
Allen.
Here.
Swisher.
Here.
Brandt.
Here.
Simmons.
Here.
Has everybody had a chance to look over the agenda? If so, I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the agenda.
Second, Gibson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, approve or correct regular session minutes of December 2nd, 2025. I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the corrected minutes.
Second, Green.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Moving on to committee reports. First up, we have Property Finance, Budget, and Audit Committees. That is Council Members Paprick and Fox.
No report, Your Honor.
You have anything?
No.
Okay. Moving on down, we have Community Development and Code Committee, Council Members Allen and Simmons.
I have no report, Your Honor.
Public Relations and Public Safety Committee, that's Council Members Swisher and Gibson.
All right, last Wednesday, we met on the 10th. We talked about the animal nuisance and updating our code, specifically pertaining to fowl, and we're gonna have another committee meeting to discuss that further, and most likely have public conversation after that. And then we had some discussions about municipal court, and then it was brought up about the intersection of Vest and Ellsworth. And so far, in the last 5 years, there's only 3 accidents, so there doesn't seem to be much of a reason to have a 4-way stop there, unless we do have more accidents. And then we also worked on the street closure application and finished that up. That goes in effect the first of the year.
Thank you, Council Member Swisher. Mr. Gibson, do you have anything?
I have nothing to add.
Thank you. Municipal Service and Personnel Committees, Council Members Brandt and Green.
You take it first.
You bet.
Municipal Services, we met on the 8th of December here at the city office with Randy and Jill, Drew, myself, JD. Number of items that we talked about, the east parking lot that the city has, and there was discussion on the mailbox that was going to go in, and That's still kind of on hold with the post office, but we're gonna go ahead and proceed with putting that entrance in on Jefferson Street and having two entrances into that parking lot. And then if that idea comes through, we'll go ahead and install it, and we feel like we've got a good plan for that. The EDA grant, we talked about that, which is a stormwater drainage system that we are needing down here around Boyd Street and Conagra and moving to the east, and a lot to come about on that. That's being administered by JD, is that Pioneer Trails?
Pioneer
Yeah.
Trails.
And I'm sure you may have more to add to this later. But there are some requirements that we need as far as training for some of our staff. So more to come with that. And like I say, JD may have more report on that. MoDOT and some maintenance situations that we're having. It seems like MoDOT over the last several years, decades, has moved towards some of your streets that are in town that are considered maintained by the state, and they're moving away from that and giving them to the cities, which gives the city a large burden of streets. And the one in right now that's a big one is Arrow Street from 65 Highway all the way into English Street. That's a long stretch that they've been maintaining, and they're telling us that they're not gonna do it. But we're set to have some meetings, possibly with MoDOT coming up, and discuss that, because we don't totally agree with that whole situation. So that's just getting started. We also received some info on hangar construction from JD, from different cities that we're gonna look into what they had proposed and what they're doing, and we'll be working on that in the future. The last thing that we discussed was the street tax, and I know, Drew, you've had some comments about that. And I just wanted to kind of give some numbers and information on that too tonight, and I'm sure you'll be able to add some to that. But just from our street department, if you look on the website, it says this Division of Municipal Services provides for the maintenance of more than 100 miles of city streets, including concrete, asphalt repair, ice and snow removal, signage, installation, replacement, and maintenance of city's vehicle and equipment fleet. Street maintenance activities include patching, concrete repair, seal coat, crack filling, sweeping, parking, painting the parking, and traffic control signs and signals, and assisting the other divisions with the city when needed. We basically, as far as street repairs, have two different kind of programs we use every year, and that is a mill and overlay, and also a crack seal and slurry coat. The mill and overlay is much more expensive. It's probably, I think I figure about 4 times more expensive than the slurry coat. And we use that primarily on the main streets that have heavy traffic, heavy equipment. And the crack seal can be more for residential, even though from time to time we do have to mill and overlay residential streets also. So this year's, so if you look at today's prices with 100 miles of streets, if we were to mill and overlay this whole town, it would cost us about $24 million to do that. And that is a lot of money and way, way out of our range. And we don't want to actually do that. But if you look at last year's program, 2025, the mill and overlay, we did 7 street sections in Marshall, which amounted to about 6,136 feet. So that's just a little over a mile that we did last year on mill and overlay. Now, slurry coat, we did 41 street sections that amounted to 23,788 feet, which is about 4.5 miles. That cost was $622,000 total for the city. The last couple of years, as we've mentioned, we've had a pretty aggressive street budget, running about 700 or 600 to 700,000. But a lot of this was due to the sale of our sanitation equipment. And we've used some of that money for street repair, and that money is going to run out before too long. Really, we're pretty much on the last year that we can cut into that, what's left of that. So, in order to continue, if we wouldn't have a street tax, we'd be going back to where we were 3 or 4 years ago, using $400,000 a year for our street program. And by doing that, we're gonna get behind the 8 ball, just slowly, our streets are gonna get worse. At the rate we looked at last year, even with last year's aggressive budget, it'll take us around 17 years to totally replace or redo every street in town. And if we cut back to half of that, like I say, it's gonna get really bad. And as everybody knows, prices don't go down on this stuff, they just continue to go up. So, the committee recommended that we begin preparing ballot language for a 1/2-cent sales tax. And we want everybody to know that this is a sunset ballot. We're only gonna have it for 3 years. And what we're asking is that you just give us a chance in 3 years where we can continue to have aggressive budget on streets, and let us show you what we can do with this tax. We'll be doing more in the future about educating the people on the need and why we're doing it. This money is gonna be spent on streets. We're not gonna float it out to different departments. It has to be spent on streets. So with that, I'm sure Drew's got some to add, and JD too, and I'd also entertain any questions from you guys on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at the budget for this year, and, like the sanitation department, we talked, I think I said at one point we had like 1.2 million in our reserve fund. It's actually 1.1, but we spent 200,000 on a new street sweeper. So that goes away pretty quick. And like Dan said, we've used out that the last 3 years to get our street program pretty aggressive. We really can't keep doing that. And it looks like revenue, there's revenue from the $4.18 for the sanitation side. And so we're trying to figure out with Tony how to divide that on the bill to show you guys. We haven't found a great way to do that without being exhaustive work. So there might be a parentheses or something on your bill saying how much of your sanitation bill goes to RTS versus the city. We're trying to figure that out. But the budget for sanitation, if you take out the contract labor for RTS, ends up being, it looks to me like around 500,000. I'll have to ask Amy about some of these numbers, or if the finance committee knows exactly, but, so I think we bring in 250,000 from the $4.18, or 225, 230. These numbers are coming off the top of my head, so don't quote me on those, but I think I'm pretty close. So there's already a shortfall in the sanitation department. On top of needing new equipment, that 1.1 is gonna go away pretty quick, and we need to have some reserve funds. So that's kind of why Dan was saying we can't really use from that anymore. If you look in our budget for the street revenue, we're projected to have 918,000 in revenue, and our expenditures without a street program for 26 is 1.6 million. So that shortfall, if I'm correct, finance committee might help me, comes out of the general fund. Is that correct? Anybody?
Correct, yeah, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I didn't.
I didn't know which
yeah.
one was going.
Yeah, that would, any additional funds that you wanted to allocate for any of those projects would have to come from the general fund, correct?
Did you have something else?
No, I was just,
Okay.
yeah.
So there is $100,000 in the street budget for street maintenance. So we do have some money in there for maintenance, but as far as street projects like we did, we don't really have any money for it. And so that's where Dan was saying the 1/2-cent sales tax, which would generate enough money for construction, reconstruction, curbs, sidewalks, and streets. And that's really what we're looking at, period. That's where the money has to go. Curbs, sidewalks, streets, construction, and reconstruction. And so, you can kind of see we have where our shortfalls are from the budget, and it's obviously up to the citizens. I've said from day one, we'll just put the information out there, and If we don't pass it, then we don't have street programs, but if you drive on the streets, you know we need it. And so hopefully you've seen over the last 3 years, the work that's been done. I know some streets don't get done that people think should get done, but we're also collaboratively working with MMU on the work that they're doing with sewer and things and fixing water lines. So we don't go in there and put a beautiful street and they come in next month and tear it out. So some streets can't get done. When we know they need to get done, we have to wait another year until MMU finishes their work. And so if you have any questions, please talk to your council member. Ask us. I've had a little bit of feedback, and that's kind of where we came up with the 3 years sunset so that we can prove ourselves to the citizens that, you know, we're going to be serious about getting the streets fixed. So the only other thing I would say is I talked to, or Amy emailed me about the RTS contract as far as the 3%, and that would be this year, yeah, so. Any questions about
Yeah.
what Dan or I said?
Yeah, well, I don't know, if the question for you or Dan, or maybe even JD. So that half cent sales tax, is that about $500,000 in revenue annually?
I think we estimated around $1 million.
A million.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Sorry. So that you essentially be bringing an additional $3 million over 3 years.
Over 3 years, yeah.
Okay, so right now, the general revenue fund gives some to the streets every year. Am I correct? How much?
I'm not sure on that.
JD?
Exactly.
I don't have that in front of me, but yes, it's significantly reduced to pre-21, but yes, there's been a transfer, I think, consistently each year.
Okay, but what I don't want to see is that transfer stop. You know, in other words, okay, we fund the streets with this new tax, now we can just not fund it from general revenue. To me, that ought to be an additional $3 million going towards streets.
Toward streets.
Over what, not cutting
Right.
what the general revenue's already paying to the streets.
And the way that's worded, I think it can't be done, like you're saying. Because it has to be, like that money that comes in
Yeah.
has to be allocated to construction, reconstruction,
Right.
street, sidewalks, and curbs. So
I'm
that, it doesn't
100%.
pay salaries, it doesn't pay, it's just for sidewalks, streets, and curbs.
Right,
That's it.
but there's probably nothing in it that says that the general fund still has to pay what they've been paying for streets.
Well,
And that's my worry.
they're it kind of does.
Okay, if
Now,
they're-
on the street maintenance side, that money that's coming in could go towards that 100,000 and ease up the general fund a little bit. But there's such a shortfall in the street department that they're still going to have to fund out of the general fund. Because you can't use this money coming in, even if let's say $1 million came in and we used 800,000. That 200,000, to my understanding, can't go to salaries,
Right.
popsicle stands, that kind of stuff. So the idea, when we first started talking about this, was if it passes, we're going to get as close to that revenue, it's all projected on sales tax, but we're going to do more streets to get to whatever that is, yeah.
I'm in favor of this. I just want to make sure that this is an additional
Yeah.
chunk of money and nothing else is reduced going to the streets. The other thing, and this is maybe more of a suggestion than a question, this might be easier to sell if you tell the public, we're going to do these streets. Miami, College, whatever it ends up being, but you tell them, because I mean, there's streets that everybody has to drive on at some point, whether it's Yerby going to the park or Miami in front of the high school. Did you all talk about that at all?
Yeah, I don't, we've got kind of a program we're using, and Randy was gonna go with MMU and kind of cross-reference, because we talked about this passer thing, for street grading, not literally grading, but grading like how bad
yeah,
the
yeah.
street is and
Right.
which one needs to be done first. And so Randy had a report on which streets he thought, using that system, or something like that system, which ones were worse and which one, and then he was gonna go to MMU and say, here's what I need to get done, what are you cutting up, so we can kind of formulate a plan. But I don't know if that work is done yet, Randy, but I would agree, when that gets done, we probably need to post our plan, our 3, 4, 5-year plan. yeah.
To me, it ought to be like commercial streets, there might be some residential
There's some
streets that are just
residentials,
terrible.
yeah,
But
there are.
that's not gonna affect
Right.
everybody the
Right.
way if we fixed a commercial street. That's
Right.
just a comment.
Yeah, and I think there are some streets, and like you say, Miami and some of those that are really in a big need, and I think,
Yeah.
those would be highly targeted in the assessment, but the way they do it now, and Randy, correct me if I'm wrong, but, generally around January or February, go out and start driving the streets. And they grade them, and they figure out which ones are worse, which ones should be a top priority before the street completely falls apart. So and it's done annually, so every year they go in, and it depends on how bad the winter is. It depends on a lot of things, so, yeah, we could target some real big projects like you're talking about, but we always have to do that evaluation process, or we can't say, well, 2 years from now, we're gonna do this street, and 3 years from now. It really can't work that way, but we can target some real big projects that we all know need to be done. And there's no way we can get those done with the funds we're getting right now.
I hate to pay for a tax and you mill and overlay a street that has a cul-de-sac at the end that only 20
yeah.
houses
No,
on or
we're-
something. No.
I mean, you know how many people drive down my street? It's fascinating. You can just sit there and watch them. It's
Well, and I think it's important that the public knows that that's how we do it. We don't wait for people to tell us which street they want done, or councilmen sit up here and fight over, well, I want my ward taken care of, or whatever. It's done, there's a good process for it, and we evaluate, and then you have X amount of dollars, and you just gotta prioritize it the best way you possibly can, so,
Good question.
yeah.
Good.
I think so.
Dan, you
That's all
good?
I got.
Thank you, guys. Moving on down to city administrator's report, Mr. Kernan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to jump right in behind the Municipal Services Committee on this issue with the street tax. One of the things that came up was the discussion of this sunset, and how do we incorporate the sunset into the ballot versus into the ordinance? And the committee was very, very clear that in addition to wanting this money restricted to rebuilding and resurfacing streets, that they wanted the public to know up front that there was going to be this 3-year sunset on this. And the purpose of that, there's a couple different things. As the committee members mentioned, it creates some accountability for the public and the city council in terms of performance every year on the street program. But it also prevents the city from doing something like issuing debt with the money, and then cities that do that, they issue debt and they use their sales tax to pay the debt service, and then they're paying on 15 years for streets that only lasted 8. The committee doesn't want to make that kind of mistake either. And so one of the questions that we left the room with was, can we incorporate the sunset language into the ballot? And the city attorney and I discussed this, and we took this to a municipal law specialist who wrote back, and this is critical. The statute has the phrase in it, when it comes to the ballot language, it says that the ballot language in the statute must be included, but is not limited to that language. So you have to include the basics from the statute, but it's not limited to that. And what this attorney is telling us is that that's permissive language, and it indicates the legislative body's intent to grant cities maximum flexibility in structuring these taxes. So this was the answer we were waiting for. I got this at 5:44, right before our executive session started. The good news is that green light's what the committee asked the staff to do, which is incorporate the sunset provision into the ballot language, because a voter is not going to be in the ballot booth looking at our ordinance. They're going to be looking at just that ballot language, that brief ballot language. So we anticipate bringing you a ballot language that has the provisions are required in the state statute, with the additional phraseology that would indicate that this is going to sunset at 3 years. So a little bit of movement there. We'll have that ready to go in January. I have to tell you that we're on a short timeline, and so both of those ordinances will need to pass in January in order for us to certify that ballot by the 27th of that month. In some additional news, the MSSC also mentioned that the EDA grant, that's the $2 million stormwater grant that we're working with the federal government on. The Regional Planning Commission will be here this Thursday to talk specifically about the agreement that Councilman Brandt mentioned. They will administer the grant. That's what the EDA expects. They do require the city council, though, to engage them under a formal agreement. We don't know what that'll cost. It's usually between like $3,000 and $6,000. It may be more in this case, but we should know that after Thursday. And then finally, the Municipal Services Committee also was talking about the airport lighting project at the meeting before this last one with our engineer from HDR. He came back today and indicated that they found an additional $137,000 that will be available in fiscal year '26 to offset the estimated $800,000 that those lights would cost. He's also recommending, based on some clarification he got from MoDOT, that we go ahead and push this into '26, which is, I think, what the committee was considering, because with the inclusion of what's called this IIJA money at $137,000 and a 2026 grant app for that to MoDOT, that will push our match down to 5% versus 10%. And that's significant, because based on the numbers, on the estimate, that's that's 40,000 instead of 80,000. What we do anticipate happening is that when the capital improvement plan goes out at the very beginning of 2026, that our ask, the city's ask for the Marshall Airport of the feds is going to be $712,500 for that lighting project. So we're in a little bit of an improved situation since that last meeting. So happy to answer any questions about these items or any other city business.
Good?
Thank you.
Moving on down to mayor's report. I do not have a report. I thought Mr. Pettit would be here tonight. But have you heard from him, JD? Did he?
I'm sorry?
Mr. Pettit from the school was supposed to be here tonight?
Just the email that went out the other day. At this point, the contract that we have with them anticipates that they will transfer Eastwood School to the city. I know that there's been some discussion about additional contingencies. We don't have any of that in writing. The council that, the agreement that council passed anticipates that now that that building has been raised and we've okayed the site, that the school district will transfer that to the city.
Quiet, Drew. Moving on. The business from the audience. It's limited to 3 minutes per speaker. Any person, resident or non-resident, wishing to address the city council may approach the microphone, state their name and comments at this time, and it's 3 minutes. Do I have anybody that would like to speak?
Hi, I'm Sandy Heisel, and I'm a business owner in Marshall, Missouri. I finally received my building permit for Keg Street, 5 weeks of waiting. I was reminded while talking to my contractors, how it affected so many people. The dirt work, the plumber, the concrete person, the lumber yard, the builders and electricians, all those people had planned on us building this year. We're trying to catch up. I'm not sure that will happen, but all of those people were affected. We are also trying to get the Benton plans approved. I gave them to Mr. Kerman in November after planning and zoning meeting, telling him they were the stamped copies, and I assumed they'd been submitted to the engineer. I filed for my permit, and at that point was told that I would need electronic copies, okay? So I did on Saturday submit electronic copies, so we lost a month. If the rule is electronic copies, then we need to change the code that is required, because I followed the code. The code is 2 copies, stamped engineering drawings submitted to the city. So we need to fix that if that's not going to be the way it is. We have no one to talk to, no one to answer questions. Anne Marie tries to be helpful, but she's not in the inspection department. No, not one city our size sends all of their requests out. They have inspection departments in-house, and if we ever want to grow, we have to do something. I know the last time I said I would not bring up other applicants, but I've heard over the last while that, it's taking 3 to 5 days to get a plumbing permit to change a sewer. 3 days or longer to get an electric permit. Regular permits used to be taken as quickly as 1 day, and a small construction project, a week. You all can say you want progress and thought things were going well, but from the people who are using the system, they are not. We still don't have a meeting set up for contractors. People just aren't pulling permits is what's happening. We have campers permanently parked on city lots. We have roofs going on without permits. We have construction projects that I question that there are being permits pulled. The only people who are suffering right now are the people who want to follow the rules. I beg you to take action. We need an inspection department now.
Thank you, Ms. Heisel. Is there anybody else that would like to speak at this time?
Hi, I'm Darrell Aarons, and I'm a builder here for 38 years in business. And I want to kind of reiterate what Sandy was saying on things. But we have not had another contractors meeting to settle some of the issues that we thought were going to get handled. So I'd like to see that happen also. It's been several months, like what, 6, 8 months, something like that now? It's way too long. We need some answers. Permits are getting done, or not getting done, actually. I know we talked also, Mayor, about a meeting, though we have not got that in place.
Right.
Mr. Kerman said some things were gonna happen also from that first meeting, and we haven't heard anything about that. So, that's all I've got at the moment, but transparency, communication, let's see if we can do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak at this time? Ms. O'Brien? All righty, moving on down to number 6. First up, we have, what is it? Fresh Ideas Management LLC, Lorraine Williams, is asking liquor by the drink. Is that correct, Ms. Lewis?
That is correct.
Where is this?
This is located on Missouri Valley College campus.
Oh,
Chief, you want to add anything?
No, it's good.
That's good? Okay,
I spoke with the college based on the letter.
okay. If so, I need a motion and a second.
I move to approve the liquor license.
Patrick, who's the second? You'll have a second?
Second, Green.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, is that right? You give me that look. All right, next up, we have our appointments. The first one, we have the appointment for the Marshall Housing Authority. And what I have here is submit for your consideration for the following appointment for Marshall Housing Authority is Melissa Hughes. That's a new appointment. Her term expires October 1st, 2029. If everybody's good with that, I need a motion and a second to approve Ms. Hughes.
I move to approve Ms. Hughes.
Second, Gibson.
Perfect. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next up, in appointments, we have, for the Board of Public Works. And this one is submitted for consideration. Is Mr. Chuck Hines for reappointment. His term expires 1/1/2030. And if everybody's good with that, I need a motion and a second on that one.
Motion to approve Chuck Hines.
Alan.
That's fast.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Welcome back, Mr. Hines.
Congratulations.
Moving on down to ordinances. Ms. Lewis, could you read the second reading by title only.
An ordinance amending Chapter 30, Article 3 of the Municipal Code of Ordinances of the City of Marshall, Missouri by repealing said Article 3 and enacting in lieu thereof new sections of like number and subject matter for the purpose of establishing updated regulations for the provision of sanitary sewer service in the City of Marshall.
Everybody understands that. That is a second reading. I need a motion and a second to approve that.
I move to approve that.
Do I have a second?
Second, Swisher.
Ms. Lewis, could I have a roll call, please?
Simmons,
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Paprick,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Swisher,
Yes.
Brandt.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2. Ms. Lewis, could you read that second reading by title only, please?
An ordinance amending Chapter 29 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Marshall pertaining to snow routes and to the removal of snow and ice from public and private property.
Everybody good with that one? If so, I need a motion and a second to approve.
I make a motion we approve?
Second.
Ms. Lewis, may I have a roll call?
Green,
Yes.
Paprick,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Swisher,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Moving on down to appropriation. Ms. Lewis, could you give the first reading by title only, please?
An ordinance making the appropriation for the payment of accounts out of the different city funds.
I need a motion and a second to take to a second reading.
Move to take it to a second reading.
Second, Green.
Ms. Lewis, could I have a roll call?
Paprick,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Swisher,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Green.
Yes.
Ms. Lewis, could you give the second reading by title only?
An ordinance making the appropriation for the payment of accounts out of the different city funds.
And I need a motion and a second to approve.
Make a motion we approve? Simmons?
Second, Paprick.
Ms. Lewis, could I have a roll call, please?
Gibson,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Allen,
Yes.
Swisher,
Yes.
Brandt,
Yes.
Simmons.
Yes.
Green,
Yes.
Paprick.
Yes.
All right, fellas, is there any other council business that we need to discuss at this time?
Yes. Could we set a meeting for the contractors for the first week of January? Would that work for you all?
Does that give, what you,
January would be fine,
middle of January?
somewhere there.
JD, can we make that happen?
Yeah, I'll get a hold of IBTS.
And we'll get ahold of you. Anything else, fellas?
I know, I don't know if it was last meeting or before, but anyway, we were talking about the hospital and people were asking about it. So JD and Mayor Craig, nobody's called you back or talked to you guys? Okay. JD, did you get a call back or?
No, I reached out, I've got that date for it. I reached out shortly after our last meeting and never got a response.
Okay. Well, I mean, I know they're busy and I know it's tough. I think, I saw a Facebook post that there was some more services closing, BHU and Payne and some other clinic stuff. Is it something where if we, like, I don't know the process, but can we talk to the Board of Trustees? Do we call them? It's weird because, if anybody wanted to go look, you can go look at their 990 tax forms. I mean, they're public knowledge. It's not a secret that rural healthcare is hard right now. But I've always heard the Board of Trustees was advisory. But then on their Facebook post, it caught my eye that they said the Board of Trustees approved the closure of all this. So I guess I'm confused as, if you look at the 990s, we've obviously been struggling for revenue. But yet, there's been 70 to 75% pay raises for certain people, and hospital staff get a 1% pay raise. So is the board approving that when and when we're closing services and there seems to be a performance issue, I don't know. There's all these questions and I don't know how, obviously it means a lot to this city. I don't know that what we can do as a city to help. Or even if dialogue is even necessary, but I would like to do whatever we can to help save a major employer in this town and talk to whoever we need to talk to, so.
You have any ideas of who we could reach out to?
I mean, I know the board, I don't know them, but I know the people's names on the board of trustees, and, some of them don't live here. But I know that they've all been talked to. That's what fascinates me by a little bit. Like people that I know that know them personally and hang out with them personally, they've all been spoke to. So it's just, it's weird for me now, kind of understanding business and raises, and obviously we're at the end of the season and bonuses with my employees, and it's like, if we're not performing, let's find out why. And but given big pay raises, while the ship seems to be going down, just seems odd to me, but,
Well, and cutting programs that's really needed too.
so, I just think there's big discussions to be had, and obviously the specifics may not be for us, but can we have some dialogue with people that make decisions and try to find out, like, what can we do to be supportive? Yeah, I don't know. So,